So, almost 2 years ago now, I had the pleasure of reading and reviewing Sake Yasuno's Future Diary. Now, for those who have been around for a long time, you know this was a pretty significant video because it was basically the first super negative review I had ever done. To this day, I still think that Future Diary is a really terrible series, had a lot of great ideas, but the execution was just awful. And while the act of reading Future Diary was kind of painful, I did really enjoy making that video, and I know a lot of you guys also enjoyed that video. So much so that pretty much ever since then, I've been getting recommendations here and there to check out Sake Yasuno's most recent work, Big Order. So to celebrate 1,500 subscribers, I said fuck it, and I sat down and I read Big Order. So was the series able to redeem Sake Yasuno in my eyes, or was it just another steaming pile of shit? Let's get started. So Big Order is a supernatural shonen series written and illustrated by Sake Yasuno, and it was serialized in Shonen Ace from 2011 to 2016. So the series takes place in Japan, where 10 years ago there was this huge event known as the Great Disaster, which basically wiped out a shit ton of the Earth's population. You know, just massive destruction, and the Earth is still recovering. This great destruction was seemingly caused by our main character, Eiji. There was this fairy girl thing named Daisy going around granting people wishes. She appears before Eiji, and inspired by all of the cartoons he used to watch as a kid, he decided to wish for world domination, which you know, caused some shit. Now Eiji, now a high school student, doesn't want to tell anyone about this because you know, why would he? He was responsible for like 1 billion people dying. Then on a seemingly normal day, his class gets a new transfer student, Rin, who he instantly falls in love with. But unfortunate for Eiji, Rin is actually an assassin sent to kill him because people figured out that he was responsible. You know, they have a little fight scene. He accidentally like stabs her or something, but it turns out that Rin also made a wish way back in the day, and she wished to become Deadpool, so she can't die. Then Eiji's like, wait a minute, shouldn't I have a power? What's the deal with that? Let me remember, because he actually forgot what he had originally wished for. It's not some Dead Man Wonderland bullshit. They do actually explain why he forgot it. Then all of a sudden he does remember his wish for world domination, and he unlocks his order. Now orders are stands, okay? They're these guys who come out of your bodies and that they have powers. You know, Rin has one who makes her invincible, and Eiji has one. And his ability is it's quite the thing. By walking places, Eiji can spread his domain. So, you know, anywhere he's been is his domain. And as long as it is inside of his domain, he can control people, he can control matter, and he can control gravity. I'm sure that sounds a bit ridiculous, and boy is it. So he takes control of Rin, and he commands her to basically just be his bodyguard, protect him, or whatever, you know, they could be friends or whatever. You know, he's still in love with her despite the fact that she just tried to cut his head off. Eiji also has this sister who's bedridden. She like got some disease, she's gonna die in a few months or something. She gets kidnapped by this terrorist organization who wants to take over the world with Eiji as their leader because he has the crazy powers. So yeah, they kidnap his sister to use him as blackmail. You know, like the leader of the terrorists. Of course, Eiji's order doesn't work on him. So yeah, they convince Eiji like, hey, join us. We're gonna take over a bunch of countries, and it'll be cool. Your sister will be fine. We'll find a cure for her. The government, though, that they aren't having this. They contact the terrorists. You know, on the international television, you just broadcast the message out to the world, and they start beheading the families of the terrorists on live TV to try to get them to stop. Yes, this is a real thing that happens. That doesn't end up working, so they just decide to nuke him. They just drop a nuke on him. And of course, because Eiji is fucking God, he stops a nuke. There's like this stone monster order that he also takes control of, and he uses that to stop a nuke. That's not how nukes work. And of course, Rin, who's still out for his ass, you know, he's controlling her, but you know, he can't control their feelings. Like, she still wants to kill him, but then she becomes conflicted because after they accidentally kiss each other, she starts to have feelings for her. I know earlier I was a bit misleading saying, you know, maybe this could be Sake Yasuno's redemption. Maybe he could deliver something great. But no, I'm gonna just be straight with you guys. Big Order is the worst thing I have ever read. If I look at all of my least favorite manga series, Big Order is leagues below those in terms of quality. It's that bad. Not only does it have a lot of the same problems as Future Diary, but they're all amplified. They're all so much worse here. Like, the one really good thing about Future Diary was the premise, but here it's just completely fucked up because nothing makes any sense. For the first little while, the story does seem to have a direction. It's very messy, very unnaturally fast-paced. The scene transitions are awful. But after a while, it just starts to devolve into this tangled web of pretty much everything that could possibly go wrong in a manga series. In order to keep things interesting, Sake Asuno keeps introducing plot twists constantly. There is a plot twist every couple of chapters, and it really feels like he was just writing out of his ass, because there's really no build-up or foreshadowing for these plot twists. They just come out of nowhere, and they usually don't make any sense, and he ends up like retconning a bunch of shit, ends up making stuff up. It's so lazy and so truly terrible. Of course, much like Future Diary, it tries way too hard to be dark and edgy and have all this sex stuff in there. None of it works at all. It's very sloppy execution. Plot has no direction. I don't know what the fuck he was trying to do with this. But here's the main thing. The main reason why this story fails. This series has the worst plot holes of anything I have ever seen. And what do I mean by this? Well, you may have already figured it out. Eiji's power is so ridiculously insane. I don't know how anyone could write this on paper. You can control people, control matter, control gravity, right from the start of the series, and think you can make a coherent, serious, and dark story. So you're probably thinking like, wow, is he just overpowered the whole time, uses his power to get out of everything? No! It is the complete opposite. He never uses his fucking power. Eiji is the worst character I've ever seen. In order to be as incompetent as him, you would have to inhale 100 tanks of gasoline. You would need to have more chromosomes than a hermit crab. There are so many times in this series where he could easily do anything. Come on, he can control people. He's basically got telekinesis, alchemy, or whatever. And of course, he can control gravity. He stops a fucking nuke. Yet so many times in this series, whenever he's in trouble, which happens all the time, he just doesn't use his power. It's the most infuriating thing you'll ever read. Now, of course, he has to use it every now and then, which he does. And there are a few times where it's justified he can't use it, like maybe someone else's order sort of blocks his out. But man, there are so many times when it's just inexcusable. There's one scene where someone else has the ability to control people, and he puts headphones on his minions so that they can't hear Eiji's orders. I'm like, oh, well, he can just use his powers to lift up their headphones. Why not? He got this whole area in his domain that's already been explained. He's used his power multiple times before this, so obviously you're just gonna knock their headphones off and retake control of them. But no, he gives up. Of course, there's a lot of people with orders they run into. A lot of them really suck. There's some cool ideas, but they're implemented horribly. And a lot of them are like Eiji's, where their existence is so powerful that it just causes nothing but plot holes. They also have order fusion, but because fuck this series. Now, as for the ending, of course, the series gets worse and worse as it progresses, if that's even possible. I mean, it was so terrible from the first chapter. I have absolutely no idea how this got published. But anyway, yeah, I was so brain dead at that point that when I realized that the translation I was reading wasn't actually finished, I didn't give a shit. For the first time ever, I didn't actually finish the series I was reviewing. See, once the series got licensed in English, they stopped translating it. There were about 4 or 5 chapters left, and I didn't bother. I didn't care enough to go find those chapters elsewhere. This was a series that physically hurt me to read. I seriously don't know why I didn't drop it earlier. I know I promised a full review and whatever, but I seriously couldn't be fucked to finish it. And I doubt whatever shit was in those 5 chapters would not have changed my opinion on this series at all. Anyway, let's talk about the characters. I already talked about how much of an incompetent little fuck Eiji is, but not only that, he has pretty much, all of your tropes. He's a crybaby, he's a pussy, he's a little, Sasuke emo bitch. Eiji is like the personification of every terrible shonen protagonist. Oh, and of course, he's like Yuki from Future Diary. His character development's all over the place, doesn't make any fucking sense. Asuno can't write. Then you have Rin, who is Eiji's love interest. She's an immortal assassin or whatever. There's really nothing to her character. Very, very bland. Now, I hated Yuno from Future Diary, but she was still way better than Rin. And also, you've kind of noticed by now, but the character designs. My god, Does he really even try? I feel like he was just trying to capture the success of Future Diary, because, you know, my opinions aside, a lot of people still really love Future Diary, and it was a huge success. But if you want to capture that success, you don't just straight up rip off your own character designs. I mean, look at this. No one told him. It's like, yo, this looks exactly like your last manga. The fuck are you doing? Anyway, so yeah, a lot of parallels between these characters, not just their designs. Of course, it's the central romance, which is fucking awful. Seriously, it's as simple as Eiji falls in love with Rin the first time he sees her, and then Rin falls in love with him once they accidentally kiss, and that's it. But of course she hides her feelings from him because, you know, she feels bad because she wants to kill him and whatever. Seriously, the only thing that can make this worse is if they like introduce some bullshit of the third character and had a love triangle. The other characters are shit too. Eiji's sister, you know, the sick one. What an awful mess of a character she was. And like, there's this other dude who looks like that chick from Future Diary. I don't know, man. I really don't want to try to make sense of the series ever again. Jesus Christ. Alright, last up is the art. Like Future Diary, it's not that great. It's definitely not the worst manga art I've ever seen. And there are a few times when it does look pretty cool. But most of the time, nah, like seriously, what the fuck is this punch? The action scenes in this series are terrible. You know, I'm fucking, this series really drained me. If I wasn't reading Vinland Saga at the same time, I probably would have killed myself. I didn't even mention the name is here. Big Order. What a fucking awful name. Big Order. It's like if you called Full Metal Alchemist Big Transmutation. Come on now. Big Order is the worst thing I have ever read. I can't recommend it at all, not even ironically. And I give it my first ever score of 1 out of 10. It disgusts me that this series is successful enough to warrant an anime adaptation and an actual English release. There are so many significantly better series who don't have that luxury. Fuck y'all who recommended it to me. I mean, in a way, it's my fault. I easily could have avoided this. But whatever, it's done. We moving on. Next week I will finally be giving my full series review for Akira, which even at a distance looks 1,000 times better than this dumpster fire. Thank you all so much for watching. You can leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video.